Howdy, I'm Justin Pulliam. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to exercise your right to access public information so you can get your hands on all of the government secrets that they're hiding from us. Happy Independence Day. What better way to celebrate than to exercise your rights? We have a lot of rights in America. We have the right to expressive activity, the right to practice whichever religion we choose, we have the right to bear arms, and we have the right to access public information. That's right, it's not a privilege to see information and records held by the government. It's your right, and all you have to do is ask. This is an important concept, and it's something I'm sure you weren't taught in government schools. You are entitled at all times to complete information about the affairs of government. And it's a mandatory duty for government officials to hand over the information when you ask. In fact, it's one of their core responsibilities. You have a constitutional right to remain silent, but government employees must disclose their secrets when you ask for them. It's really easy to request public information, and there's no better day to request it than July 4th. Whether you're with your family, at work, or traveling, it takes only a few minutes to send an email from your phone or drop a letter in the mail. There's all sorts of things you can request. Budgets, salaries and expenditures, contracts, complaints and performance reviews, police reports, videos and phone calls, emails and text messages, court records, policies, procedures and handbooks, and so much more. If the government created it, maintains it, or paid for it, you have a right to see it. It's a long list, but the request process is easy. I'm going to help you submit your first request step by step. And if you have any questions, definitely ask those questions in the video comments, and I'll point you in the right direction. The basic steps are: 1. Decide which governmental body has the information you want to access. 2. Find the contact information for the officer for public information. Next, determine the specific information you want to request. 4. Write your request, and I've provided templates in the video description below to help you out with that. After that, submit your request. 6, which hopefully you'll get to skip, is to defend against any games that the government plays to block your access to information. 7, receive the information. And finally, and also absolutely most importantly, share the information and your experience with your friends and neighbors. Now I'm going to go through each step in detail. Step 1. Decide which governmental body has the information you want to access. You can request information from your city, school district, county, local districts like public transportation, state agencies, which includes public universities, and elected officials. I recommend sending your first request to a city, a nearby city, or your county. You could also send it to a state agency like the Department of Public Safety. I'm going to send one request to the City of Leon Valley and a second request to the Texas Department of Public Safety. Now pause this video as we go along and resume it when you're ready to go on to the next step. Alright, did you figure out which government you're going to request information from? Step 2 is to find the contact information for the Officer for Public Information. In Texas, the Officer for Public Information is the Chief Executive Officer of the governmental body, except for counties, in which case the elected office holder is the Officer for Public Information. For example, at the Sheriff's Office, the elected sheriff is the Officer for Public Information, and for the county administration, it's the county judge. For a city, it's usually the city manager, but sometimes it's the city clerk or the city secretary. The Officer for Public Information oftentimes designates another government employee to handle information requests. For cities, it's usually the city secretary. Do an internet search that includes the name of the governmental body and the term public information. Another phrase often used is open records. You'll usually find an email address to submit requests. They may try to hide it though, so be sure to look on the right side of the web page or even to a link to the required public information poster, and then the email would be on the bottom left of that poster. If the government uses email at all, then they have to accept emailed requests. If you can't find an email, all you have to do is mail it in or drop it off in person. If you use mail or go in person, it's actually easier because every single government employee there has to accept your request. Some places have online portals or forms that you can use if you want. I've included example contact information in the video description below. Alright, now on to step 3. This one's really interesting and one of the most important steps. You're going to determine the specific information that you want to request. Now, earlier in the video, I went through some categories of information that you can request, but today specifically I'm going to go over 2 request templates. One request topic is for lawsuit settlement agreements, and the second one is for the email sent by either the head of the governmental agency or the chief law enforcement officer, such as the police chief. Decide which template you would like to use, or you can do both of them. In step 4, you're going to write your request. I drafted these 2 templates that you can use. They're in the video description. All you have to do is copy and paste them into an email or write them out into a letter. Now, there are a few places in brackets that you might need to modify to suit your purposes. For instance, specifically if it's the sheriff or police chief, city manager, whoever you'd like to get the emails for. Also, the time period for settlement agreements. If you're requesting from a big city like Houston or Dallas, you may only want to do a few years, whereas a medium-sized city, 5 or 10 years might be better. And if it's a small city, you definitely want to get 10, because if they're getting sued a lot, guys, there's a big problem. So just copy and paste and modify the parts and brackets if you'd like. Copy the request template from the video description and then paste it into your email. Now there's a few important things you'll need to update so it applies to your situation. The first thing in the brackets, change the city to whichever city that you or county, whatever it is, government entity that you'd like to request. And then for the date, you might want to change it. For this medium-sized city, I'm going to leave it the same. Although for a large city, you might want to do something like 2017 or 18. Go ahead and sign your name. So for the subject line, I normally say information request, and then either the topic of the request or the department that it's going to. While the things in this video are specifically for the Texas law, I try to make it as applicable to everything as possible. So this template should work in most places. And the request process, the public information process, is similar pretty much no matter where you are. I don't reference any sort of law or anything like that because we're not just requesting this under a public information law. We're asking for it under any right of access, which can include a right to judicial records, common law right to access, in addition to whatever state and federal and local laws there are that establish a right to access information. Then, importantly, and you might want to bold this part so it really sticks out, what specifically are you requesting, and then the time frame of when to do the search for the records. Next, we tell them that we'd like to receive the information electronically and that we're waiving the fees. To defeat a new game that some places are doing, I say I am not an agent of another. And this last line is to encourage whoever you're sending it to do the right thing to get the information to you promptly. And then that's it. Send it away. Alright, I already got a response back for that one. And the next one, I'm going to ask for the emails from the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. On this one, it's pretty easy. All you need to do is change the person whose emails you're going to request. Now, chief of police may work for you. You might add their name or just leave it as is. It's fine. You would just remove the brackets. This could be the sheriff, the city manager, whoever's emails you're going to request. In this case, it's going to be DPS Director Steve McCraw. And that's really it for this request. Now I want to go over one other component to it. I do want to point out one thing. We're only requesting the sent emails, and this is to make the requests more pertinent so we don't get a lot of junk emails, mailing lists, and things that really the director has nothing to do with because he's only responsible for the things that he personally sends. You can even submit your request anonymously. You don't have to use your real name. However, when you send in your request, be sure to let them know that I helped you out. Step 5. Send the email, drop the letter in the mail, or if you really want to make a statement, deliver it in person. I'm sure there's a local government event nearby today where you can find someone to accept your request. Also, you can carbon copy me at justinpulliam@gmail.com. I'd like to see your request. Alright. Now step 6 is an optional step that hopefully you'll get to skip, but if they try to play any games, you'll have to defend against those. Bad governments may try to block your access to the information. They do this by trying to charge excessive fees, by asking for clarification when there's really nothing that's unclear, or they may ask the Attorney General for authority to withhold information. Now, if you use the email request, there may be some emails that they can optionally withhold, but the good government officials will go ahead and just give those out. And they absolutely have to give you the settlement agreements. If you have any problems at all, be sure to let me know in the comments. On to step 7. Now this one's definitely the most exciting. Receiving the information, which you should receive promptly, hopefully within the next week or so. If you don't hear back within 10 business days though, be sure to let me know. Wow, and finally, the last step. And as I said earlier, this is the most important part of the process. Absolutely. So what you want to do is share the information and your experience. Most others don't know that they have a right to access public information, even though probably all of them have questions about government. You might receive some shocking information, and that new information will help motivate others to take action to create positive change in your community. So be sure to share that information around in the neighborhood, friends, organizations, church, at work, wherever you may be, even shopping at the store. Let people know about it. And I am definitely interested to see the information too. Perhaps we can do a prize to see who is able to find the most outrageous government secrets. Please forward a copy of it to justinpulliam@gmail.com. And remember, the request should be in writing. However, you don't have to use any specific form put out by the government. And I can't stress enough that this is your right. It's not a privilege, it's your right. And the Officer for Public Information has a mandatory duty to promptly provide the information you ask for. Check out my YouTube videos to see the importance of public information and the impact you can create by sharing it. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to receive notifications. If you think this video is useful, let me know by giving it a like. Don't just fly a flag or shoot off a few fireworks this year. Discover freedom and exercise a right for the very first time, a right you might not have even knew that you had. I hope you have a great holiday.
Tell me the law, I know it. That's not the way local government works. I'm not going to sit here and play games with you.
This is a very simple request.
You are asking for a very simple request. You're not going to get the information you're requesting. You can speak to the officer.
You can talk to them, I'm just here to make sure everything goes smoothly.
Well, I mean, it is a Class B misdemeanor.